Hey everybody, this is Josh McKinney, and I just want to welcome you to episode 45 of the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. Now, was running behind this whole week. I really had something good for Suck Less Saturday for you guys, and had a migraine all day Saturday and was not able to record it, and so you guys didn't get to Suck Less on a Saturday. I apologize for that, but as I love to do to make it up to you guys, I worked on my website for pretty much 2 days straight and didn't sleep, which is probably why I got a migraine on Saturday. And it is up and it is live now. And so it's official. BJJSucks.com is now owned by Josh McKinney and live right now. So you guys should check out the new website. You can check out past episodes of the podcast. You can get on the blog. I made my first blog post. Actually, it's my second blog post ever, but my first blog post ever on that site. And most importantly, as I've told you guys, I'm giving away the Triangle Escape Plan totally free. All you have to do is go to bjjsucks.com/triangle, or just go to bjjsucks.com and click on the Triangle Escape Plan. It is a 10-minute system that I teach you guys how to never get finished in the triangle again. And so definitely worth checking out. Like I said, that is bjjsucks.com/triangle. But today I have something really cool. I have my former kids coach, my IT guy, my the man who manages, teaches, and runs the Jerseyville location of Headnod, which is my gym, and is one of my best friends, Logan Wayne. Logan is a brown belt under me, and I thought it would be really cool to do an episode with Logan because a big comment that I got from a lot of people was that they loved to see the coach-student relationship between Kyle and I, Kyle being my coach. Well, you get to see the other side of it in this. Logan and I also have a really good, really cool relationship. And I've been sitting on this one for a little bit, for probably almost a month now, because I wanted to release it when we were kind of doing some of the mental health awareness in May. And Logan, we talk about this, has battled depression and has just had a war with mental health, and has used jiu-jitsu and surrounding himself with the right people to combat that, and also being really, really trained in it too. And we get really deep into that, and also just deep into what it's like running a school, what's different about it. Because, I mean, I've always here for guidance for Logan. He always is really good about asking questions, but like, Logan runs that school from top to bottom. He, I mean, if I was not around, it wouldn't change a thing really. I'm not up there. I go up there once a month to teach and hang out with everybody, but besides that, Logan runs that place top to bottom and does an excellent job. And really, I would say one of the biggest things that he does better than maybe anybody that I know is, maybe I wouldn't say better than anybody I know, because actually a lot of the people that I really respect have this quality. But he asks questions. He never, and we talk about it in the podcast, he talks about how you don't always have to have the answer to everything. And I wish I could share with you guys just some of the messages that I get from Logan on a weekly basis, just about the direction of the gym, the direction of some of our other projects and stuff. And it's just a really good question asker. And so it was really cool to get to sit down and talk with him for a little bit, for about an hour, and be a kind of face-to-face, because it was over Skype. And so it was nice to get to do that when you don't get to see as many familiar faces right now as normal. But without further ado, here is the episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. How are you doing, Logan?
Not too bad considering how everything is.
Yep, kind of just hanging out. So what a perfect time to record a podcast, right?
I agree. What else are you going
to do? So how's your day been? What have you been doing today?
Oh, man. Today I got up, went for a little walk, and then had a little meeting with my other work job while my kid was taking a cooking class and almost burnt down the kitchen at the house.
All right.
That was fun. And then went for another walk to try to burn off some nervous energy, and now we're talking.
All right. Which kid was it that almost burnt down the house?
Lila.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I was thinking, man, Ruby's a little bit young to be taking cooking classes, isn't she?
She can't reach all the knobs, thus almost burning down the house. No.
Yeah.
No, that was the older one.
Okay. So you have 2 daughters, both of which do jiu-jitsu, correct?
Yes, both do jiu-jitsu.
And how old are they?
Lila is 12 and Ruby will be 7 on the 14th of April. So happy birthday early.
Happy birthday. So today's my mom's birthday. Thanks for mentioning it, Logan.
Happy birthday, Jen.
Oh, thank you. I'll be sure to tell her. I'll be sure when this comes out a month from now, she'll be like, "You sound ridiculous because today is not my birthday." Yeah. Yeah, not really the type of person that is pleased with things. So, but back to it. Your daughters are both training jiu-jitsu. Have you had, just looking at it, just because we kind of brought them up, have you had any troubles with them in training? Has it been hard for you as the instructor of a gym to kind of keep them training?
To keep them training, no. To keep them listening to me, yes. It's a hard boundary to not blur between being coach and dad, especially at the gym, since we spend family time up here when nobody else is here, so they kind of feel like it's their space too, and they want to help a lot more sometimes than maybe they should, or that I'm comfortable with. But yeah, they do come up and train. They do like to play sometimes. It does get to be old habit, and at certain times it's not cool or whatever reason, but somewhat consistently, yes.
Okay. So for them, what was kind of your reason for wanting them to get into jiu-jitsu?
Man, that's a good question. Let's see. Probably the main reason, I wanted them to have a sense of self-reliability. They say it's really important to have that skill. Just as a little background story for your listeners, I have 2 daughters. Yes, they were both adopted internationally. So they're not my biological children, but they are my kids 100%. And when we were going through the adoption process, you have to take some training to be a parent and all kinds of check boxes to check, if you will. And one of the things I kind of got into a lot was like the idea of the psychology behind adoptees and adopted people. And one of the big things they say is like for them to have the ability to rely on themselves. And they gave examples of learning how to swim, because it's a self-reliant skill that will help you survive in a time of stress. And of course, being a jiu-jitsu guy, I instantly equated that to, well, they need to learn this then too.
And so for that, kind of just stepping back a little bit before this, what got you to try out jiu-jitsu? What was your reason behind that?
Like everybody else, man, UFC 1, 2, and 3. I'm one of the old school guys, I guess. So when those came out, I watched them on a rerun somewhere and was like, man, that looks cool. And had to drive 45 minutes to St. Louis to train with a burger guy at one of the boxing gyms. His name was Dan Schaefer-Cotter, really cool guy. And I got there and got beat up by some dude that was about my size, and was like, yep, got to learn how to do this.
And so what year would that have been?
Let's see. I started jiu-jitsu 2006. Yeah, 2006.
So you start 2006. You were training for how long before you started training with Kyle?
Oh, man. Before I started training with Kyle, probably 3 years.
Okay.
I was one of those like knucklehead guys that was like, I just couldn't find anybody that was like legit at the time that was doing gi stuff no-gi, of course, because it was brand new. Nobody knew anybody that did it. I mean, you either trained at Voggy's in St. Louis or you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't train there because of how far away I live. So found this place was closer and had to train no-gi. And it was like, oh, the belts, who cares? It's, if you know how to defend yourself, whatever. But it's one of those things I sort of had one of those epiphany moments of like, I need to share this with others. And I can't really share this with others if I don't have a certain level of legitimacy, I guess you could call it, and be able to acknowledge that skill in others as well. So
Okay.
the 2 years or 3 years before I found Kyle, and I had found Kyle before, I just was on the fence of going there because I'm not a big fan of
Kyle.
yeah, totally Kyle. No, I was just concerned about like the type of personality I would run into at the hit squad at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily I turned out to be really wrong on my first read of it and found out there were a lot of cool guys there and really built a lot of good relationships with a few of you long lasters that have made it.
Of course. And man, that is, when we started, you started this, well, not, you didn't start, but you started training in the gi at the same place that I started training, which was the Hit Squad. And that was a big, beautiful MMA facility. And it was very intimidating because, obviously Matt Hughes' name was on the door. You had Robbie Lawler training there. You had quite a few guys.
Brian Foster. Do you remember him?
Mm-hmm,
I watched him pull himself up upside down from one of those like long ropes hanging from the ceiling, like pulling himself up feet first. I'm like, oh, I am so screwed here. There's no way. There's savages.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you're dealing with, you're seeing the pro MMA class with all these guys that are on the Ultimate Fighter at the time. You have still to this day really good UFC fighter Neil Magny was one of the guys we got to train with. Neil was not an intimidating guy, such a just overly nice guy. Really liked Neil.
Very quiet.
Yes, and then you had so it was just very intimidating for somebody because you just don't know, and I'm sure people still deal with that when they first come into a gym. You're going to a place where if what they're saying is true, everybody there could kill you. And you're going to let them get close to doing it and somehow learn that. Right?
Yeah. It's one of those, the way I always looked at it was like, you find out really, really quickly if it's for you. It's one of those like, this is either the best decision I ever made or the worst idea I ever had to try to do jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm. And I think for most of us, we probably consider it as one of the best decisions that we've ever made,
Most days. There are days where it's like, oh God, this hurts so bad.
Of course.
I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Of course. So then, you're training with Kyle. Kyle leaves the Hit Squad and he moves to his location, not the location that he's at now, but he moves
the downtown facility.
Yeah, and he moves to Watson Martial Arts. He's under his own name at this point, and you follow, correct?
I try to. I try really hard, but again, the whole concept of like where I worked at the time and how I worked, I was traveling internationally, actually going to Brazil like for 2 weeks every quarter out of the year. And working odd hours. So it just made it hard to get to Kyle's to train. So I basically took, I want to say like a 5-year hiatus from jiu-jitsu. I made it to blue belt with 2 stripes and then just could not consistently string like 3 days of training together at all.
And that people call it the blue belt blues, but like whatever reason, you have a child, you get married, you move, you do something, and it gives you this reason not to train. And in my opinion, in jiu-jitsu, that is the hardest thing. Just from what I've watched, that is the hardest thing for people to overcome. Is once you're out of it, you're going to come back. White belts are going to beat you up, and it is this really, it's just a really tough thing. Obviously,
it's easier not to.
Exactly. And jiu-jitsu can kind of check your ego, but nothing checks your egos more than when you used to be better at it, know? And so for you, what brought you back?
2 things. You guys opened up right around the time I could bring Lila, who was 6 years old, I think. And I guess maybe a third thing, a good friend of mine who had trained with me in the beginning, Keith Steinacher, had gotten promoted to purple belt, which was obviously a higher belt than me. And part of it was like, man, if I had kept training, I could be, why did I quit? I really enjoyed it. It just made me take a hard look at myself. And with you guys opening and Lila being about the right age, it kind of was like, well, I can kind of use Lila as my gateway drug to get back on the full dose of jiu-jitsu for myself, and you guys, and luckily for me, you guys were willing to let me come on and help kind of with the kids class, just kind of keep the chaos. Cause if we're all being honest here, you guys were kind of a little green at it too.
Oh
so
my
it sort of worked out.
I'm a dude. There is not a kids class that I have taught that I'm still not over my head on.
Oh, I'm telling you. And it's so easy for it to get away so quickly. There's days where I'm like, well, oops.
So here's my rule. Just as a side note, my rule when dealing with kids, this is not just kids classes. I will help with vacation Bible school at my church, and I will tell the people that are with me, okay, this is how it works. You have good kids and bad kids. The bad kids are all you're going to notice. And when you're dealing with bad kids, you win or they win, okay? Once you lose, just cut your losses. You lost. And for example, what they will always happen is, the bad kids, they're great at getting under your skin, figuring something out and messing with you as an adult. They get inside your head and then you get angry. Okay, now you got angry, you lost.
Mm-hmm.
Don't focus on it because they won. Okay, you won one game. Now we'll play the next.
It's all psychological warfare, especially about maybe Ruby's a little advanced, but I would say about 5 years old. Well, probably before that. At 3 years old, she outwitted me she wanted to take a nap. I didn't want her to, so she's like, "Let's play hide and seek." I went and did, and I counted to 30 in my head. I'm like, nah, no. Walked out, and she was asleep on the couch. I'm like, she got me. She got me.
Yeah, she'll do that to me when I'll come up to Jerseyville and teach her something. She'll question something about what I'm showing or what rank I am, and I'll be like, oh, okay. I guess
maybe I'm not important. Yeah. I forget.
Yeah, I guess you're the boss here, huh? I forgot.
Oh man.
But back to it. You start training again. You're a 2-stripe blue belt when you start training.
Mm-hmm.
And man, that was back in the olden days when we used to do stripes. How ridiculous. But so you're back then, you start training, and you kind of mentioned, you come on with us as a helping us with the kids classes. Lila's training, you're now training. And what was kind of that initial transition like for you?
It was stressful because Lila is quite a bit like me. She can get easily distracted, and she could talk herself out of something pretty quickly. Like if something's too difficult, she's like, well, I'll just do something else instead of this. So trying to keep her convinced that it was her idea to keep coming to jiu-jitsu was probably the more difficult task, I think. But then it was a sense of I had to change my mental perspective of, like you were saying with the ego. Yeah, I was getting tapped by, there's some real athletic guys that come out of the HQ gym. You have a huge Shark Tank that, you guys built up over those first 3 years with the competition team and getting it going. I mean, yeah, being tapped out by white belts was not, I kind of expected it, but having it happen was one of those acknowledgments of all right, how can I get better? And looking at new ways. It's not using a tap as an objective or a goal to meet. It's surviving this or getting out of that, or using something for the first time and having it click and work, or finding the B side of a sweep or a submission.
And I think I always call it what is winning? That's what I always ask people. And so sometimes for people, winning is getting a submission, right? But a lot of times as you get better, winning becomes different things. For guys, as you get older, you don't feel as good. Winning is just showing up and being on the mat, right?
Yeah. People ask me all the time, Logan, are you going to compete again when your body's back to 100%? And the answer is maybe I might, just because it's fun to kind of put myself in that scary mental headspace, because I do like to, I do let myself get complacent and comfortable a lot.
Uh-huh.
And to get myself outside of that is always good. But I mean, I have high school wrestlers that come up here and like, just being 38,
Mm-hmm.
going to be 39 this year, and not getting tapped, just surviving, man, that's competing and winning in my book. I mean,
Uh-huh.
they don't get tired, bro. I do.
Uh-huh. And I think that that's a really important thing to really get across to people is jiu-jitsu is different for everybody, right? We all have different goals, different intentions. Of if your intention was like, man, I want to, at 39 years old, become a black belt and win an adult world title. Well, then we'd be like, oh gosh, we got to do some,
We
let's
need
make.
to talk a little bit more. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so, but I think that that's a fun goal for some people to have, right? Certain people to have, but for most people, we just want to train and enjoy jiu-jitsu, you know? Um, whether it, use it to improve different parts of our lives, that's all we want to do with it.
I would one up you and say, especially now that like I've affiliated with you guys and we have the school up here, it's not just me being better, it's helping other people be better. Becoming the iron that other people sharpen themselves against is a really cool and unique experience. For me anyway, because I'm still relatively new at it.
That is true. And so you just went way spoilers on the
Oh, sorry,
podcast, but now
sorry.
we'll get to the point where, it was kind of always agreed on that, hey, Logan is going to help us with our kids program. He's going to help us as an assistant coach. And then eventually he's going to, get into his cocoon and then fly off like a majestic butterfly into Jerseyville and start his own place. Well, the opportunity came about, probably a year and a month ago, to where we were able to partner together and open Headnod Jerseyville. And you guys just celebrated your 1 year anniversary yesterday.
Yeah.
It wasn't the bash that we were hoping for, mainly because we are in the middle of the pandemic still and are not able to
Be
do
near anything.
be at the gym. But when we are able to come back, we will have a bash for it. But in that year, okay, in that first year of running a school, do you have anything that you picked up that you feel like you didn't expect or you just didn't know was going to be something that would happen?
Man, that's a tough question, because it's like, yeah, there's all kinds of like silly little nuances of remembering to turn down the heat at night so that you don't have a high utility bill, because you only
Yeah.
operate for 1 hour every other day.
Yes. Yes.
Uh, things like that, making sure that you have enough toilet paper because during class you don't want to run out.
Yep. That is
Um, let's see. I guess I was very fortunate that you and your dad were kind of partnered up with me on this, and I was able to basically utilize all of the infrastructure that we had built at HQ over the first 3-4 years. And so it was a soft transition of like, we didn't have to figure out how to record attendance, how to add members, how to collect payments, all those things. They were all ready to go.
Mhm.
I guess this might sound a little silly, but I guess the biggest thing I've learned, and I've been a manager before and a leader at business at other companies, but it never so much in a large group as like at a gym, and other adults being seen as more of like a mentor figure, or someone who sought out to help someone with problems that they're having, to work things out, like almost like I guess a minister or a pastor would be, not to
Mhm.
compare myself to that per se, but just to be seen as like someone who has wisdom, I guess.
Yeah. And what have you taken away from that? What have you kind of maybe either realized was different than you thought it might be as that mentor figure, or just any tips that you would have for somebody that maybe is getting into that situation?
Uh, the tip I would give is like, because I have the adopted children, and for myself dealing with like mental illness and depression, I've had to educate myself a lot about uh, the diseases and the ways that you can improve your life while living with it. Um, One thing being like behavioral cognitive therapy, basically replacing bad behaviors with good behaviors that are good for you instead of like indulging in bad behaviors that replicate bad cycles or good or bad structures that lead you down bad choices farther and farther.
Hmm.
Um, but like as a gym owner, that came in very helpful because I had some tools ready to provide some assistance or resources instead of kind of being blindsided and being like, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I don't know what to tell you to do there. But
Yeah.
be willing to listen and not always having to have an answer. You don't always
Hmm.
have to have one. Just a lot of times people just want to complain about work, the drive, their kids not listening. And once they get it out there, it's done. You know, they've moved on. That's all they needed. But you know, on the rare occasion where somebody needs some help, you know, just having a few things in your back pocket of like, well, what makes you feel that way, or helping them sort of like th- trying not to tell someone what to do, but trying to help someone understand what they can do, I guess is like the biggest tip.
I think that's an amazing tip because I look at it from our relationship, right? You will sometimes message me something, ask me something about the gym, and about 6% of the time I'll have an answer where I'm like, "Oh, I experienced this, just do this." But about
Mhm.
94% of the time I say, "Huh, let's talk through it." And just having that, just having that talk through generally it's you getting to that answer yourself, right?
Mhm.
Very seldom is it me figuring it out and being like, oh, that's what should be done. Usually it's just us talking through it. And just, I think part of it's just a comfort thing. Feel comfortable talking through it and bouncing ideas. And we share things of, oh, well, maybe we could try this, or maybe that might not work, or, whatever. But I think just having that, kind of mentorship, friendship, because I have that same relationship with Kyle when it comes to trying new stuff, or if I ever have a question. And it's sometimes he will have that answer on the top of his head more than I do for sure. But a lot of times he just will talk through it and he'll say, well, here are some options. What do you think you should do? And
Yeah.
and I
You know,
think
I,
that
I was just not to cut you up, but I
no,
guess
you're
thinking
good.
about what you're talking is trust. Especially like with our group, like I refer to it as our tribes
Hmm.
in jujitsu. But you have to really trust somebody if you're gonna a lot if you're willing to let them try to kill you, right? Like you're putting an awful lot of blind faith in me that I'm gonna stop doing whatever I'm doing to you that's making you tap. And that
Hmm.
we have that little agreement, you know. Maybe that's what makes it a little easier for some of us in the gym life.
Dude, that is so true too. I did a podcast with Jamie Kilstein. We were talking about it just a few days ago. The verbal contract, or the contract that you sign when you slap bump.
Yeah.
You were literally saying like, "Hey, we're gonna try to kill each other, and if you get me, I just trust you to let go as soon as I tap out."
Oh my God, Tyler Ross.
Yes.
If it wasn't for us letting him go a couple times, his kids might be growing up without a daddy.
Yeah, Ross Tyler is who you
Or
meant,
Ross
but
Tyler,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes, you got him confused, but yes. Okay, so might as well just talk about this for a second. So I have a student. He is a blue belt, a really, really good guy. But there was this time, and this was amazing. This has never happened to me before. I've choked very few people unconscious, to be honest. I feel like I'm pretty good about applying things slow. And then the times that it have happened, it is 100% their fault. And here are two times that happened in the same week that are both Ross's fault. I'm rolling with Ross and I'm taking his back, and he starts thinking that he's gonna like shrug me off, and I start to fall to the side, and I get like that side Ezekiel choke.
Right.
Is like probably the best way to explain it. And he doesn't tap to it, and he passes out. Okay, so wakes up, and he was out for like 4 or 5 seconds, and he actually wakes up and says, whoa, I think I was almost out there. And I was like, bro, you were dead. Most of the people are out at dinner already. Like you were
Oh,
gone. And the second time, same week, I think that happened on a Wednesday. Then on Saturday, we're all training. We're doing rounds from stand up. And Ross has been trying to play deep half guard at the time. He and I are going. He pulls half. Starts going deep, and I get a cross collar grip. And I'm just like kind of laying on that. I'm just cross collaring him. I'm not choking. I don't have like a cross collar choke, just one hand across. And he's digging under and he's fighting so hard that he's choking himself, like trying to dig under me instead of just letting his head turn and like, giving up the pass or something. Yeah. He's like, gonna fight tooth and nail because that's who he is. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, man, Ross stopped fighting a while ago. That was weird. And then I let go, and like when we do rounds from standing at the old gym, it was just too small to do a bunch at once. So a bunch of people are sitting on the wall watching, and I like try to get in between Ross and the people on the wall so they can't tell that I'm like, trying to wake him up. But yeah, he was dead.
Was that dead. The time you went and rubbed on his chest, or you started pumping his legs?
I think I was probably rubbing on his chest, and he woke up. I'm thinking that was. I
think I remember Ross, that would happen.
Yeah, Ross he is like the bad luck Brian of jiu-jitsu. Were you there? I don't think you were there. I think this wouldn't have been that long ago, 6 months ago. Christian they were drilling. Okay, so Christian tries to do an Imanari roll. All right, and they're drilling this Imanari roll, and Ross leans down as Christian's leg swings, and Ross gets kicked in the head, and Ross starts bleeding like a faucet. Like it was horrible, and it was it was really bad. And you have people on their first night see this happen, and like, of course, the fact of the matter is you've got guys like Justin and Eric who are brown belts. Justin actually just got his black belt. That are still continuing to roll during this time, and so you have people on their 1 week trials like, oh my gosh, this is how these people treat each other.
We are that gym.
Yes, and that is true.
God, your entire audience just went, I don't know what parallel dimension I just stepped into, but I know none of these people in the story or hold any relevancy to how this is pertaining to anything.
No, I think that they understand like every little story is a clip into, for lack of a better term, the ghetto-ness of the gym and of our team. That's probably the best word that I can use for that. We just have a very different team, but I think people have that in jiu-jitsu. I think a lot of people have like, that's kind of the fun thing about jiu-jitsu is your brotherhood. It's different for each gym, right? It's different for each group that you go into. You have some that are super proper, and that's what they love. They love that structure. Some have absolutely no structure at all, and it's like the Wild West, and that's Headnod HQ. And you know what I mean? And so you get like, you just get that difference, and that's one of the things that people love about jiu-jitsu.
I got you. Okay, so I got a question for you. I know normally when you're on the podcast you don't get to ask a question, but if you'll indulge me a little bit, you
can ask whatever you want.
Okay.
Except for that.
Okay. All right. So from your perspective, like you're what, 5 years or 6 years in at HQ now?
I'm not 5. Am I? Am I 5?
I think you're 5. You gotta be close.
I thought it was no. I thought it was 16, right? Or no. It was 15 November of 2015. So we're at
4 3/4.
Yeah. That sounds right. 4.5.
Sorry.
4.5.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're at 4.5 years in. You're 1 year into being a co-owner of your second gym. So you have 2 gyms. So you're at 12 years jiu-jitsu math. But like as you're kind of growing out of it, like I brought it up a couple times with you and we've talked, but like having me start with you and help you kind of like get the kids program going, just having a reliable source there, and then having me leave all of a sudden because you guys decided to help do this. And then now like you've got a black belt and a couple more stacked up behind that one. Like, how's that feel to you from your perspective? Like, has it been that quick? Does it feel like it's taken the right amount of time? What's that been like?
That's tough. I don't know, man. I think
because I know you like the vision board and all that stuff, and like 5 years ago, you're like, did you see this plan fall out this way, or are you like, so delightfully surprised at how well it's come together.
I am super, super surprised and very delightfully surprised. Had you have asked me even 3 years ago where I thought we would be at, I had hopes of where we would be at, but I didn't, I didn't know for sure, and I just really didn't know how we would get there. Honestly, there was a point at our gym that I felt like, and I feel like this happens a lot of gyms. It's about a 50 to 60 student like limbo that you get in, and a lot of gyms stay there forever. And it's really, really tough. And so we stayed there. I bet you we were in that 50 to 60 mark for like 2 years. And so, you're getting growth and it seems exciting, but it seems like every time, you gain two, you lose one, and then baseball season will come and all the kids that are in baseball have to stop training. And so you just take these hits and it can be very frustrating. I'm a pretty positive person, so I probably get discouraged less than most, but I still would get really discouraged with it because I'm like, man, this is just not it's not going the way that I want. And I think one of the biggest reasons that it happens in looking back at it is because at that 50 to 60 mark, you're making enough money to pay all your bills, you're making enough money to pay yourself. But in order to really break that plateau for most people, you have to spend money. You have to go out, and that is, like you want to hold on to that. You're making, whatever, you're making a certain amount of money, and you're like, man, I can't spend this because this is what I'm living off of, right? And
Risk,
so,
yeah.
exactly, and going out and taking that risk. I bought a few courses on marketing, like through Facebook. We did some stuff through Facebook, then ended up hiring a marketing team, and doing these things really increased the gym so much. And so now, like a year ago, when I started to see those increases, I was like, oh my gosh, finally we have something figured out, right? It took years of trial and error, but then you look at the beauty of it, and it was something when we opened Jerseyville, we can implement immediately,
Mhm.
right? And so, if you look at Jerseyville's numbers compared to what we were in the first year, Jerseyville has, maybe a third of the amount of people in the population in it, but they have, the gym has twice as much as we did within the first year. And, so you look at that and you really see that, like, how important it is to have systems that work, and
So the moral of the story is hire professionals first, save yourself time and money later.
I don't know. I think you do it in steps. I really think that it's important because a lot of times people think like, oh, I'll just throw money and I'll just hire these people, like for for a gym, let's say a gym, it's the easiest thing to explain it with, but like I'll just hire a marketing team and then they're going to take care of it, and then I'll hire a bunch of trainers and they're going to take care of it. But the problem, you become so disconnected with that. You don't know anything about marketing, so you don't know if your marketing is actually working. I always am of the idea, I'm not a do-it-yourselfer. I am a do-it-yourselfer at first, and then you hire somebody to do it. You get as far as you can go with something, like I did with Facebook marketing. I tried to learn it myself, and I did. And then I started learning, whoa, Facebook's algorithms are changing each month. Facebook's rules are changing each month. If I don't want to make this my full-time job, the Facebook marketing, then I should hire somebody at this point. But now that I knew that, I was able to look at who I was hiring and
Mhm.
say, hey, I know something about this. I know more than this guy does about Facebook marketing.
Yeah, you're not going to get not swindled, but if somebody's trying to explain their concept to you, what they're trying to do, and it doesn't make sense, you could be like, that doesn't make sense because you're educated enough on both your business or your market and what you're trying to accomplish with the advertising.
Yes, and so that is the short answer. Is to, 5 years ago, did I have any idea that the gyms would be where they are? No, not really. But I think we did it in small bites instead
Mhm.
of one big course. It was like it wasn't like, hey, this is our 5-year goal. It was like, hey, man, let's just get 3 months from now. Let's aim to have this many students. 3 months from now, let's aim to figure out a curriculum a little bit better. Let's aim to, just doing those short goals, I think, made it, just happen slowly. And you didn't even realize it was happening, right? It just became something.
As you were kind of doing it, was it weird when I was like, did it seem like I was being pushy to try to help, like, or was that one of those things like you were hoping people would try to help? Because I know like some people are they want to keep it controlled and the fidelity high, but they want to have everything to do with everything and it's all them. What's your take?
So, and I mean, this from, being around me, is I will pretty much let anybody help with anything. Anybody that offers interest, I think that's actually just a talent of mine, is looking at people and being able to, kind of find their gifting of what they're good at, right? And so, and probably not even helping them sharpen that, maybe trying to put other people that complement their weaknesses together, but just kind of, being able to see that. And one of the biggest things I always look at when I'm looking for somebody to help with something is just a willingness. If there is somebody that has a willingness to help, a willingness to be a jiu-jitsu coach, to be an instructor, and doesn't have the talent to do it, I would much rather deal with that person than somebody that has a talent to do it and doesn't want to do it, right? Yeah. It's so much harder to deal with people that, it's not a big deal, or they don't want to do it for the wrong reasons, right? They are like, hey, I want to teach a class because then, I can pay for my membership that way, or that way I can make a little money, but compared to the guys who are like, man, I want to teach a class so I can learn how to teach, so I can then help people, and then I can, have a jiu-jitsu school. Those people are so much better to work with in those situations. So if somebody asks me and I feel like, man, they have motives, even if I never really feel super threatened about like, oh, well, they might take what I teach them and open a gym. You know what I mean? Because ideally I can kill them, right? So that's that's why I don't really worry about that. No, it's just like, I don't know. I don't think of competition as a negative thing. You know what I mean? It would, like, there's no way I would be as good in jiu-jitsu as I am if I didn't have guys that I was competing against, right? Sure. And so, business I don't think is any different.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like your point too of like finding someone who's good at it may not be the best person to like show it. It's that aptitude. Like you can teach a skill set, you can't teach the ability to like want someone to do something.
Yeah, man. And you've, I think we've been around jiu-jitsu long enough to see guys that are like, that really are truly gifted, but they just, they don't care enough, or they don't want it enough, that, that's why, whatever, quote unquote, their goals don't really come into fruition. Right. And then we've seen people that are not gifted, and they are just, they're just willing to put in everything. They're just like, what? I don't care. I don't care that I'm not. Yeah. I mean, let's take, for example, you at 145, what do you, 150?
Yeah, 146 right now. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, 146 and 39 years old, and it, for you, like, it doesn't, if you were building the perfect jiu-jitsu coach, would you build you?
Maybe, God, yes, but it would be me from like if I hadn't taken that 5-year hiatus. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, right.
That's the only thing I wish. Like, I wish I had time back. The one thing you can't get.
Mm-hmm. But then you look. Yeah. But you look at a guy who is just absolutely willing to just try, right? Like absolutely willing to just go out and be like, hey, this is important to me. This is what I care about. I think that is so much more important than anything else, is having a desire. I referred to the Jamie Kilstein podcast I just did. He was talking about Marcelo, and he was saying that there was an interview with Marcelo, and they asked him, hey, why are you so good at jiu-jitsu? And he said, oh, it's just because I love it more than everybody else does. Yeah. And that was his reason. He's like, it's not because he's the best athlete. It's not because of anything. It's just because, he loved it so much that he dedicated his life to it. And that's like how I think anything, those are the people that you want to be around. Is people that just have a passion for it.
Yeah, it's infectious, man. When people are around you, they can tell that you love jujitsu. They like hearing you talk about it. There's that sense of like, man, it's really cool to be around somebody who thinks something that is this cool.
Yeah. And we are all nerds that love jujitsu this much, right? That dedicate this much time to jujitsu, but that's okay,
Yeah,
right? Uh,
everybody's got their own coping.
exactly. Okay, so just getting a little bit back to what we were originally talking about, which was just like kind of starting the gym, right? You
Mhm.
start the gym, and just to give guys a little bit of a little bit of like a introduction of what it might be like to start a gym. What would you describe like the first 6 months as?
Well, for me, stressful.
Yeah.
Not because things weren't ready, the gym wasn't ready, or anything like that. It was more in my head. The People refer to it as like the imposter syndrome. Like I was a gosh, what was I? I was a purple belt when we launched. Yeah, a
Yeah.
one stripe purple belt. You gave me the second stripe like the first time you came up that month.
Hmm.
Uh, but it was just like worrying that I was teaching right. I was showing people real jujitsu. Like, and there were times where I teach something, and then a week or two later, I'd be watching people roll and be like, Jesus, I am doing something very wrong. Like,
Yeah.
how do they not know what am I missing here? But again, like when you become a teacher, you really learn a lot about jujitsu and how to teach it to different people because everybody learns something differently.
Yeah. And so, you start to kind of get that transition as as you progress as a teacher, and the biggest thing is like, it's very hard to teach a big group of brand new people,
Hmm.
because they, they can get away with doing so much wrong. And so, like having guys like, you have like Josh Stevens, right? Who is really tough. And you have Dane, who's good. And wait, don't you have two Dane? You have two Danes,
Got
which is
Squirrely and got Dane, and I
which
got
is
Nathan.
crazy. What
Yeah.
is it? Yeah, which are what who what gym would have two Danes? That's so many Danes. I didn't
How many?
realize it was that popular of a name.
God, what did we have? Like 9 Mikeys at your gym at one time?
We did, we did. Um,
But okay,
but
so like having that many new people at once, that was an interesting thing. So for me, what happened at let's see, we opened in April, so April, May, June, July, August. August, I was rolling with one of the not new guys, but one of my guys that had been there for a while, and I wasn't thinking anything about it, and he tried to do an escape. And I'm assuming it's nothing that I had taught, but I had responded wrong. I tried to stay on top, and I should have taken the roll, but I didn't. But I ended up like ripping part of my like rotator cuff.
mhm,
Whole arm was dead until
mhm.
about probably January, where it's now I feel like I can actually use it again. But like I don't know why my ego kicked in or why I thought I had to stay on top, but it's like, man, Logan, you're older. These guys are stronger. They want it more. And I mean, being an upper belt, you know, they want to succeed at showing that they can do the technique or try something new that they learned on someone that is competent, I guess. But,
Mhm.
I wish I would have taken that role bad. I wish I'd have just rolled.
I think that can be a tough thing as a coach, is like getting guys to a point, because your whole goal is to
To
get
make them
guys,
better. Yeah.
yeah, to get guys better than you in less time that it took you, right?
Mhm.
And so, like
Yeah.
those are your two things that you're trying to do. You're trying to make them better than you and do it faster than it took you. And so I think it's so hard when that actually happens. And you're like, you know, this freaking punk, he's been training for 3 years and he's all over me right now. I hate this guy. I'm kicking him out of the gym.
Well, and like the mentality, the mindset. So when I'm at your gym, when I was your student, what happened to me had zero effect on you guys, like you and
Mhm.
Steve directly. Me being the operator up here for you guys and manager and teacher, if if my body gets dorked where I can't teach or operate, it affects you guys. So that was a whole new perspective and a different way for me to think about like how I had to go about A, teaching and protecting myself, and two, defining my goals on how I got better.
Mhm.
Maybe it isn't getting a 200 submission mark in a month. It's not getting hurt or doing something only to my dumb side. I mean, it's a different way to, like you say, set goals.
It really is, and a different way to win, right?
Mhm.
And so, just before we always finish these episodes the same way, but before we get into that, just had kind of like one more question, one more thought. But what do you feel like it was better for you? Because this is kind of what I've hinted towards on the podcast for people that think about opening their own gym. Do you feel like it was a better situation for you because you were teaching at our gym first?
Um, I 100% feel like if you want to teach, like your goal is like mine, and like I want to have a great gym, I want to have a huge student base, maybe someday create a world champion, who knows? But I want to have competent, good people making good jujitsu. Then I definitely think you should talk to your coach at your gym and let them know that so that you can practice. You need to practice teaching because you need to get exposed to like all the random questions that you're going to get, and learning to not have to have the answers and being able to quote unquote tap dance. Like, what do you do when you're have somebody pull a gun on you? Run in a serpentine pattern. I
Yeah.
mean, you just that exposure and like learning how to teach something to other people's perspective was like a big thing for me. Like, every gym has their own like hidden rule set or secret rules of like how you progress through the chain and like come up and get promoted to upper belt colors and things like that. And like for me, it's not a hidden thing for me. It's you want to eventually be the purple belts and browns. It's like I feel like you should have to do a little instruction just because it helps you be a better person at jiu-jitsu yourself, because you learn to see the moves and everything from a whole different perspective than just your own.
hmm What do you feel like someone should do if they went to their coach and had that maybe at that let's just say at purple belt, but sometimes gyms are having people teach at blue belt, and but if they went to their coach and their coach, whether they feel like it's because their coach feels threatened or anything like that, but their coach is like, no, you can't teach.
I know this will seem controversial, but I would say you probably should find a new gym because it's not the gym for you. If that's your
Yeah.
goal to teach, and the instructor's showing signs that, it feels like you're taking their kingdom or whatever, then yeah, that you're not going to succeed at that goal or what you're after. So you need to look for a new home.
Yeah, I think that's probably, I honestly think that's probably the best answer too, is as much as you never want to like encourage people like, hey, you should leave where you're at, but sometimes like
It's
it's
like a
not the
bad
best.
relationship. You don't know you're in it unless maybe somebody points it out from the outside, like, hey, you keep talking about how you wanted to be a teacher and open your gym, but you also complained about how you never got to do this, or
Yeah.
whatever the example could be.
That is I think that's really true. I think that happens with too many people, and it kind of hurts them on that point. So then they're forced into this situation where then they're a brown belt or even a black belt, and then they're going to go and go off on their own. They have no teaching experience, and then they still have to leave their gym. They still have to, because
It's
they're it. Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
mean, well, I mean, it's like you giving me the ability to teach helped give me the tool set I needed to succeed here for the gym. Yeah, I mean, if you get your black belt or decide to go open your gym at blue belt, purple belt, well, whatever, you to think that if you've never taught or had that experience that you'll be successful at it, that that is a bit of an unhealthy thought mechanism that you're
Yeah.
showing.
Yeah, and I mean, and like for us, giving you the ability to teach was the same reason that like parents pay for college just to get you out of here. You know what I mean? I like just leave, Logan. Just yeah, just Yeah, you can teach whatever classes you want. Just get out of my gym. Oh my God.
Dude, I mean, okay. So like, jokingly, yeah, I totally know that you guys wanted me to succeed and that's why you did it. But as a depressed person, like that depressed voice in your head sometimes, like that imposter syndrome voice, that's what'll like play with you sometimes. Like, yeah, that's why they let you teach and they gave you, and they helped you open the gym and where you live and made it so nice so they could get rid of you.
Yeah,
And
that
like
was it.
you think about that for a second, and you're like, oh, you depressive voice, you're stupid. Go back in your box.
Yeah, and then you ask yourself, man, wonder what Josh is doing teaching the kids classes right now. You know?
Make Emily do it.
Yes, that is true. I do that. But we are gonna go ahead and if it's okay with you, we're gonna play a little game.
Take it or leave it.
We are gonna play Take It or Leave It. So I know you know how the game works for the people listening at home that do not know how the game works. Game works like this. I'm gonna make a statement. Logan is going to have the option to either take it or leave it. Take it means he agrees. Leave it means he disagrees. And then we'll probably discuss his answers. All right. So are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. So this is always the question. This is the most important question that you'll probably ever be asked, but definitely the most important question you'll be asked on the podcast. Take it or leave it. Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yes, I 100% agree. But I have to say my favorite holiday Christmas movie is Gremlins.
Gremlins? So you're taking that Gremlins is also a Christmas movie?
Oh yeah. It by far I think if you wanted to make the comparison that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, you have to be in the camp that Gremlins is also a Christmas movie.
I like it, man. I literally was arguing back and forth on a Facebook post last night with Ezra Lennon, and his argument was, well then Gremlins is a Christmas movie too, and I was like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
agreed.
Yeah.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Okay. So next, take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. St. Louis style pizza is the best pizza.
Are we talking like emos or are we talking about someplace else?
Ooh, okay, let's say this. This is kind of how because I always like to do
Like the mellow mushroom. I mean, come on.
ooh.
You gotta tell me where we're going here before I say.
Okay, let's say emos versus other pizza chains.
Yeah, I'll go emos.
Okay.
I like it.
Okay. So that's kind of, I always try to include something food-wise from where the person is. Like where the person lived, right? So, for example,
you tried throwing toasted ravioli at people yet? Because I hear that's like a St. Louis original as well.
It is a St. Louis original, but I feel like less people know about, probably very few people know about St. Louis style pizza, except for the people that listen to this podcast because we talk about it all the time. Toasted ravioli is also delicious. And also, while we're on it, St. Louis style bread sliced bagels are the best way to eat a bagel. And that offends people, but it's true.
Oh, it's so easy to like dip it into whatever you want and then just
exactly. Think about, you just get
less carbs.
way more cream cheese in your body too, man.
Yeah, that's better for you.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so take it or leave it. Steve McKinney is the coolest of the McKinneys.
Agreed. I agree. He is the coolest.
No.
Okay, I'm open to arguments. But go ahead.
I'm just saying I'm a much cooler guy. I mean, think about like my hair is cooler than his. I'm.
But that's like saying the chicken before the egg. I mean, he had to be cool before you could be cool, right?
That's I guess if you look at it like that, that makes sense. But I still think I'm much cooler than him.
Okay.
All right. So last, take it or leave it. Here we go. Take it or leave it. Night one that we all come back from the quarantine will have an over 25% injury rate.
All on Dylan.
Oh yeah.
Dylan will have every single one of them.
I'm guaranteeing that there will be broken bones, torn shoulders, and ACLs the day that people come back because everyone's going to feel like they can come back as hard as they had trained 6 weeks before. And it doesn't work like that.
Oh God, no, man. Yeah, I feel you. What I have to say one last story because it made me think of like the weirdest thing that ever happened while instructing. Uh, was at your gym. Before it was like right before we came up here and opened. I was teaching a no-gi class. I had Dylan in there, and he was going with Nathan, my blue belt up here before he was a blue belt. And this is the one where he got swept against the wall and dislocated his finger. I have never seen a finger bent like all back like that. And he's like, "Hey, Logan, can you fix that?" I go, "Yeah, why not?" And
And did you just pull it?
oh yeah, I set that finger straight, and he just goes, "Oh," and knees go limp. Oh my God, that was the strangest thing I think. So yeah, okay, gym owners, uh, gold key laser tip. Look into some basic first aid physiology, like how to set a finger, how to set a joint or something like that, how to stop a bloody nose, and always keep rubber gloves.
Yeah. See, anytime somebody breaks something or injures something at my gym, I always just push them outside and like, hey, it's not my problem. I'm not trying to get sued. You know?
I know.
Yeah, I'm not a licensed medical professional. We actually all did have to pop Eric Hubner's kneecap back in one time. It was horrible. That was yeah, I wasn't down for that one, but he was like, my kneecap popped out. You guys
Spot
have
on.
to yeah,
Spot
you guys
on.
have to you guys have to put it back for me. And I was like, are you sure? And I'm like, why is your kneecap on your shin? What's going on? And yeah, but we got it taken care of. It was good. It toughened him up.
Oh man.
All right, so last question, and this is always the question we finish with. So I am at a Logan Wayne Jiu-Jitsu seminar, and there's question and answer, and I am a blue belt, brand new blue belt, and I raise my hand and I say, Logan, how do I suck less at Jiu-Jitsu? What is your answer?
Mat time and a micro goal. By micro goal, I mean pick a bad position that you don't like or a position that you don't have an attack from that you know of, and spend an entire month in it and try to either come up with a submission that works for you or a sweep so that you're not stuck there in a non-defensive like capacity. Or for me, it was like forcing myself to like use a guillotine or be in a position where I could not lock up close guard. I had to be able to think on my feet, and it forced me to develop that game and be comfortable with, the Hicks and Gracie quote, be comfortable with uncomfortable positions. I mean, that is the best way I know to like create any kind of explosive growth, whether it's in jiu-jitsu or in life. Like putting yourself outside of a comfort zone of any kind will help you regardless.
That is a good answer. I like it. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for being on. Is there anything you want to say to finish?
Hopefully the quarantine's all over by the time this comes out and we've all made it to the other side and we're laughing, ha ha ha. But if not, hey, we're still going to have to try to get through it. Remember to check on people and, just try to keep a positive attitude and focus on what you can control, not what you can't. That's the best way to kind of keep a grasp on what's going on.
That's good, man. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, man, for having me on. I'll talk to you later.
And that is the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I love talking to Logan, and I love having a good relationship with some of my students. I have a few other people that I will have on the podcast soon that are my coaches or people that kind of trained up with me, because I really enjoy doing those type of episodes. Those are like my personally they're the most fun episodes for me, not just because I have to do way less research because I know the people, but also because it's just fun talking to your buddies, and it's fun getting to, ask a lot of times it's very uncommon to sit down and just ask your friends deep questions about jiu-jitsu and about life and stuff like that. And it's really fun to get to hear your friend's opinion on it. And so that's what I've been doing a lot lately with a lot of these episodes, because these are my buddies, that I'm recording with and I'm chatting with. And so that's why I've enjoyed doing that. But I hope that you guys enjoyed that episode. I hope you guys got something out of it. Don't forget, today's episode was brought to you by the Triangle Escape Plan, which is absolutely free, and bjjsucks.com, which is where you can get the Triangle Escape Plan. So be sure to check those out, and be sure to have a good rest of your week. It's Monday. get excited. Have a good week, man. Even if you can't train still, like us, figure out a way to do something productive. Like if you were to look on bjjsucks.com/blog, I think it's /blog. We'll just click the blog button. But I made a blog post about 10 things to do during quarantine. And it's definitely in the top 2 blog posts that I've ever made. So that's saying something. But that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I hope you guys will share it, like it, tell me about it, which is the most important thing to me. Send me a message. I love hearing from you guys and getting feedback. But mostly, more important than any of that, I hope that you guys suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu.